In the cold dark of space near the edge of the galaxy, something strange began to happen. Ships from the Galactic Alliance were vanishing. Not in battle, not in storms. They simply disappeared. One moment, they were sending normal reports. Dry. Next moment, silence. No wreckage, no distress calls, just empty space. At first, no one cared. The missing ships were from small patrols, deep in unimportant zones. The council said it was nothing. They told everyone not to panic. But behind closed doors, the council knew something was wrong. A message had come from one of the last patrols. It was broken and full of static, but 3 words were clear. They are coming. No one knew who they were. The council laughed at the idea of a threat. After all, the Galactic Alliance ruled over 10,000 star systems. Their fleets were strong. Their technology was unmatched. And the humans? They were long gone. Just a story from the past, just a name in the old files hidden deep in the archives. But the fear began to spread. More ships vanished, then entire fleets. A trade convoy with 4 escort cruisers disappeared within minutes. An alien mining colony stopped responding. When another group was sent to investigate, they too went silent. The only clue was a strange signal found near the area, an old radio wave forgotten by modern systems. It was traced back to Earth. Languages. The translation was simple. Judgment is near. That's when the council began to worry. Meetings were held in secret. Old leaders whispered about the war thousands of years ago, a war that was wiped from history, a war with humans. No one had seen humans in centuries, no human ships, no human colonies. It was believed they had destroyed themselves. But now, something had returned. Something that looked like them, but felt different. Across many planets, small groups started to prepare. People locked their doors. Civilian ships refused to travel in deep space. Soldiers were told to be ready. But no one knew what to fight. Then it happened. A sensor station near the Orion border picked up something big. Not just one ship, hundreds, maybe thousands, moving as one, silent, organized, a fleet. But there was no communication, no threats, just movement. The Galactic Fleet was sent to investigate. They were ready to fight. The best ships, the best weapons, the best captains. They reached the edge of the dark zone and waited. Nothing came. Then the human fleet arrived. No sound, no warning, no slow approach, just sudden presence. One moment, the sky was clear. The next, it was full of giant black ships, smooth, dark, metal. No markings, no light. Just massive shadows moving through the stars. The alien fleet tried to scan them. Systems failed. Radar stopped working. Engines froze. Even weapons would not respond. The galactic ships floated in space, powerless. On every ship, the screens flickered. A single image appeared. An old human face. Calm, serious, silent. Then, a voice came through. Cold, slow, final. You forgot us, but we remember you. Panic spread across the fleet. Some tried to run, some tried to fight. None succeeded. One by one, their ships went dark. Not destroyed, not burned, just off. Like someone had flipped a switch. On a distant planet, a child looked up at the sky. She saw a pattern of stars change. A shadow moved across the moon. She pointed and asked her father, "What is that?" He stared in silence. His hands shook. In the council room, alarms rang. A final message was received from the front lines. It was short, broken. But the words were clear. The battle is over. We never had a chance. And then silence. No one knew what would happen next. But the stars had changed, and everyone could feel it. Panic was growing in the galaxy, but the leaders of the Galactic Council still tried to stay calm. In the shining hall of the Council Tower, the most powerful beings in the galaxy sat together. There were over 50 races represented. Some were tall and thin, others short and covered in scales. Their ships were powerful. Their armies were large. They believed they were safe. But fear was in the air. The head of the council, a proud Zarnak named Velthar, stood in the center. His voice was loud and angry. "This is nonsense! Some missing ships do not mean the end of the galaxy. Maybe they hit black holes. Maybe pirates. There is no proof this is war." Others were not so sure. A quiet elder named Merix, from the thinking race of the Tylari, spoke up. "We found the signal. Ancient Earth language, we translated it. Judgment is near. This cannot be ignored." The word Earth made the room colder. Some of the younger council members didn't understand. "What is Earth?" one asked. "Is it another empire?" Merix closed his eyes. "No. Earth is the home of humans, a species long forgotten. They vanished from records many ages ago, but long before they were feared. They fought the old ones. They disappeared, but maybe not forever." Velthar slammed his fist. "These are just stories. Humans were destroyed or left the galaxy. We have ruled for centuries. Let us not act like cowards because of a ghost." But then, another counselor stood. He was from a race called the Siren, known for collecting information. He placed a small device on the table. It showed a shaky video, footage from a destroyed scout ship. In the video, a single massive black ship floated in space. It did not fire, it did not speak, it just watched. Then, everything in the video turned dark. The screen went blank. "This was the last thing sent by Scout Group Delta," the Siren said. "They were investigating the missing fleets. Now they are gone too." The council room grew quiet. Outside the tower, the skies above the capital planet were peaceful. Shining suns, calm space lanes. But inside the tower, war was coming. The council voted to send a new scout ship, a special one with faster systems, and a protected crew. It would enter the area where the signal was found. They hoped it would return with answers. Captain Dren led the mission. He was from the Coral race, known for bravery. His crew was ready. As they moved toward the dark zone, they passed quiet stars and lifeless planets. Then, the ship stopped. In front of them was a field of floating wreckage, pieces of ships. Some were Alliance, some were from unknown designs, all broken, all dead. But in the middle, untouched and perfect, floated one large ship. It was black and silent. No lights, no sound, just a name, barely visible, HSS Titanus. Captain Dren gave the order, "Scan it, try to make contact." His crew worked fast. Then, one by one, the ship's systems failed. The engines shut down. The lights flickered. The screens turned off. The crew screamed in fear. "Something is inside the system." A low sound filled the ship like a heartbeat made of metal. Then a voice came through the comms. It was human, calm, cold. "You are not ready." The scout ship floated, powerless. Back at the council, they waited for contact. One signal came through, just audio. Captain Dren's voice, weak and shaking. "There is something here, watching us. It knows we're afraid. It doesn't speak much. It doesn't need to. One ship stopped us all." Then silence. The signal ended. Now, even Veltar could not hide his fear. The Galactic Council had seen many wars. They had beaten rebels, pirates, even machines. But this was different. This enemy did not speak with anger. It did not destroy with rage. It moved like a shadow. It attacked the mind and the humans. If they had returned, were no longer like before. They were silent, they were patient, and they were near. Far away in the dark of space, the human fleet remained still. No attacks, no messages, just presence, watching, waiting. The galaxy, for the first time in many ages, was truly afraid. The galaxy was no longer quiet. Fear spread like a virus. Trade routes were empty. Civilian ships stayed on planets. News screens on every world showed the same message. More fleets gone. Scout mission failed. Human signal confirmed. In the deep libraries of the Galactic Archives, a young researcher named Lyra searched for answers. She was from the Nimari race, small, fast, and curious. She was not a soldier or a leader, but she loved old stories. Now, those stories were real. Lyra worked in the lower levels of the archives, a place few visited. Dusty machines, broken data, chips, old records. She asked the system to search for one word: human. At first, nothing appeared. Then, after hours of work, she found a locked file with a warning: do not open without council clearance. But she opened it anyway. The file was very old. The screen showed dark images, giant ships, burning planets, screaming armies. There was a war long ago, not taught in schools. A war called the War of Silence. It was a war between the early Galactic Council and the humans. The humans didn't come in numbers. They came in silence. They didn't speak. They didn't demand. They just acted. According to the file, the Council won. But the final entry said something strange. The humans left the galaxy, not in defeat, but by choice. They said, "We will return when the stars forget fear." Lyra's hands shook. The file ended with one last line: if they return, do not awaken them. Far from the archives, in the darkness of deep space, the human fleet still waited. No lights, no messages, no ships left the formation. They floated like ghosts. Many thought they were empty. Others believed they were full of machines. But no one knew the truth. Then, one human ship began to move, slowly, not toward a planet, not toward a target. It moved into open space and sent a message. It was not a voice. It was a video. The Galactic Council watched in silence. The video showed a burning world, a world from thousands of years ago. Alien soldiers screaming, human ships above, doing nothing. Then, without warning, every weapon on the planet stopped. Machines failed. Skies turned dark. One by one, the alien soldiers dropped to the ground, sleeping or dead. The video ended with a sentence: "You feared our weapons, but you never understood our silence." The council chamber was quiet. No one spoke. Velthar, once full of pride, now looked tired. They're showing us their past, what they did before, what they can do again. The Siren counselor asked, "Why now? Why return?" An old voice answered. It was Merrick's, the Tylari elder. Maybe we broke something. Maybe we crossed a line, or maybe they were always watching. On a small planet called Elion, near the edge of known space, a strange thing happened. A child was playing near the fields when she saw something above, a black circle in the sky. It wasn't a ship. It wasn't a planet. It was like a hole in space. From that hole, a message was sent. Second contact begins. The message was sent to every planet, every ship, every device. No one could stop it. People screamed. Others cried. Some fell to their knees. The council gathered for an emergency meeting. "What is second contact?" asked a young captain. Merrick's answered slowly. "First contact was peace, a handshake, a beginning. Second contact is judgment, the human." Fleet moved again, this time toward the center of the galaxy. Worlds watched in fear. Armies prepared, fleets gathered, but no one fired. Not yet. In the darkest corners of the galaxy, old AI systems turned on by themselves. Screens glowed with the same words, "We remember." And far away, in the cold silence between stars, the ghosts of humanity moved closer. The galaxy held its breath. After the warning, second contact begins, no one knew what would happen next. Leaders tried to act strong. Fleets gathered near major planets. Defense systems were turned on. But deep inside, fear grew stronger with each passing hour. Then, they came. The first planet to see them was Valtor Prime. It was a trading world full of markets and towers. People looked up and froze. Shapes moved in the sky, giant black ships, silent and smooth. They did not glow or make sound. They simply appeared. The planet's defense system scanned them, but the scanners failed. Targeting systems went dark. Nothing worked. The ships floated above the cities like shadows. On the ground, panic began. People ran, some cried, some fell to their knees. They did not know if the ships would attack or just watch. But the human ships did not fire. They only hovered. Soon other planets reported the same. Thousands of human ships appeared across the galaxy, all at once. No travel lines were used, no warp signals detected. It was like they just stepped out of space itself. The Council called for an emergency defense. All fleets were told to move into attack formation, but no one could target the human ships. Weapons refused to lock on. Commands were ignored. Some ships even lost control of their engines. A few were gently pushed away, as if by an invisible force. In a desperate move, one fleet commander opened a channel. His name was Admiral Chris. He was brave and respected. He looked into the camera and spoke clearly. "We do not wish for war," he said, "but we will defend our people. What do you want from us?" For a moment, nothing happened. Then, every screen in the fleet lit up with a single word. Balance. No voice. Just the word. The Council didn't understand. "What does it mean?" asked one ambassador. "Maybe it means justice," said another. "Or revenge." On planet Lumenos, an old scholar remembered something. In a forgotten book, humans once wrote about balance through control. It was their way to keep peace, not by ruling, but by making sure no one could start wars again. The fear grew deeper. Then, something shocking happened. All the human ships vanished. One blink, and they were gone. People hoped it was over. They were wrong. Moments later, the entire human fleet reappeared over the galactic capital. The skies turned black. Citizens screamed. Council guards ran to their stations. The capital planet, Arthenis, was the safest and most protected world in the galaxy. No enemy had ever reached it. But now, it was under a silent siege. Human ships surrounded the planet like a cage. No shots fired, no damage done. But the message was clear. We are here, and you cannot stop us. The Council panicked. Some begged for surrender. Others demanded an attack. But nothing worked. The capital's defense grid failed without reason. Even the backup power lines shut down. It was as if the planet was held in the palm of a hand. Then, one ship descended lower than the others. It moved slowly, carefully, as if showing respect. It stopped above the Council tower. A beam of light shone down, not a weapon but a display. In the light, a human figure appeared, tall, calm, covered in dark armor. It was not real. It was a projection. Still, everyone could hear its voice. "This is not a war. This is correction." The voice was not angry, not loud, just steady. Vel Thar, shaking, stood before the image. "Why now? Why come back after all these years?" The human answered, "Because peace is a lie, and silence has ended." With that, the light vanished. The ships remained, watching, unmoving. Across the galaxy, the same message played on every planet, every screen. Second contact is not the end. It is the warning. And just like that, the stars no longer felt safe. The fleet did not attack. But the message was clear. The humans had arrived, and nothing would ever be the same again. The human fleet did not leave. They stayed above the capital, above the Council worlds, above the stars they once vanished from. But they were no longer a mystery. The galaxy now knew what they wanted, not war, not control, but truth and balance. For days, no one moved, no shots were fired, no orders were given. It felt like the galaxy had stopped spinning. Everyone waited for someone else to act first. Inside the Council tower, now half destroyed, half floating, Velthar stood beside Lyra. His proud voice was quiet now. I spent my whole life trying to make the council stronger. But maybe strong isn't what we needed, Lyra nodded. They didn't return to rule us. They returned to remind us what we forgot. Vel looked out the broken window. The human ship still hung in the sky, black and silent. We lied to ourselves, he said. We called it peace. But it was fear. Fear that one day they'd come. Back on other worlds, people had different reactions. Some were angry. Why should we listen to them? Shouted a general on Taros 9. They think they're better than us. But others remembered what they saw. Ships that stopped war without firing. A single man walking into the heart of power without fear. On the planet Juno, a small group of farmers took down their old flags. Maybe it's time we stop following those who hid the truth, one said. In the middle of all this, the human voice spoke again. We will leave soon, but not before the balance is restored. No one knew what that meant. Then, the human ships began to build. They moved together, crafting something in space above the capital. Long metal beams appeared. Energy lines connected. Strange symbols glowed. It was not a weapon. It was not a station. It was a mirror. Not of glass, but of memory. The giant object reflected the truth. Anyone who looked into it saw not themselves, but their actions, their decisions, their past. It showed lies told, wars started, truths hidden. It could not be turned off. The people called it the Memory Gate. Crowds formed across the galaxy, not to fight, but to face themselves. Some cried, some walked away in shame, others stood, taller, ready to change. In the council tower, Elias Thorne returned one last time. He stood before the leaders, alone as always. You now understand us, he said. We are not your enemy. We were your reminder. Velthar stepped forward. And now, what do we do? Elias looked around. You choose. He placed a small device on the ground. It pulsed softly. This is a key, Elias said. Not to unlock power, but to unlock truth. With it, you can find us again, but only if you're ready. Ready for what? Lyra asked. To lead, without fear. With that, he turned and left. The human ships began to rise, one by one. They vanished into the stars just as they had long ago. No engine trails, no sound, just gone. The galaxy watched them disappear with wide eyes and strange peace. The mirror gate remained. It could not be taken down. And maybe that was the point. Months later, the galaxy began to change. The council became smaller but more honest. Secrets were banned. Open talks replaced hidden rooms. Planets once ignored were now heard. And deep in a quiet system, on a small blue planet called Earth, a voice spoke into the stars. They have chosen to learn. We will watch. We will wait. And if silence returns, so shall we. The galaxy was still not perfect, but for the first time in a long time, it was honest, and that was enough. For now. The galaxy had never seen power like this before. The human fleet had returned, but they had not fired a single shot. No planets were destroyed. No cities were burned. Yet every world was afraid. Every fleet was helpless. Every leader felt powerless. But some refused to give up. Deep inside the military base on planet Zaraxis, General Ryvek stood over a glowing table, watching the movement of the human ships. He was old and stubborn, one of the last who still believed in the strength of the Galactic Alliance. He clenched his fists. There must be something we can do, some weakness. Nothing is invincible. One of his science officers stepped forward. Sir, we've found something strange. Ryvek looked up. Speak. The human ships, they are using a kind of tech we've never seen. Not physical weapons, not shields. It's something else. It moves through systems. It shuts everything down. Like a virus, but alive. A living weapon? Rivek asked. The officer nodded. Not just living, thinking. Back in the council chambers, the leaders gathered again. Their eyes were tired, their voices weak. So much power had arrived, and no one knew how to fight it. Then, Lyra, the young researcher from the archives, entered the room. She held a small old device. I found something, she said, breathless. An old log, from the last war with the humans. She played the message. It was a voice, an alien general from thousands of years ago. The humans do not need ships to win. Their true weapon is hidden. It does not attack your body. It attacks your mind, your machines, your trust. It waits. It learns. Then it breaks you from within. Tfo. Message ended with static. Lyra looked around. This weapon is not new. It's ancient, and it's here again. The room fell silent. On the edge of the galaxy, near a forgotten moon, a secret lab flickered to life. It had been silent for centuries. Inside was something not even the Council remembered. Project Echo. It was the last attempt to copy human tech during the Old War. A machine built not to destroy but to understand. Locked away when the humans left, because it was too dangerous. Now, it was awake. A small robot inside the lab blinked. It turned on by itself and began to speak in an old human voice. Protocol restart. Human signal detected. Defensive understanding required. Alarms triggered across the sector. Ships sent to investigate arrived too late. The lab was already empty. Something had left it. Something built to think like a human, but not made by humans. Back on the capital planet, people were starting to act strangely. Machines glitched. AI. Systems refused to listen. Simple tools broke for no reason. Fear turned to confusion. The human fleet still did nothing. They were waiting. General Rivek sent a spy ship to get close to the human command vessel. It was a dangerous mission, but he needed answers. The spy ship moved in quietly, hiding behind debris and rocks. Slowly, it reached the dark side of the massive human flagship. There were no guards, no warning signals, just silence. Then the crew saw it. The ship was alive. Not in the normal way, not with lights or movement, but with thought. The walls shifted, symbols changed, cameras turned by themselves. A strange pulse ran through the hull, like a slow heartbeat. And then, something noticed them. The crew screamed. The feed ended. The ship was never heard from again. The Council finally understood. The humans were not using a weapon. They were the weapon. Their ships, their systems, their silence, everything was part of a larger plan. Not to kill, but to control. Velthar stood in front of the galaxy's leaders. His voice cracked. We thought we were at the top. We thought we ruled the stars. But we forgot the most dangerous kind of enemy. The one that waits. The human fleet began to move again. This time, not toward planets, but toward the Council Tower. The final warning had ended. Now, the real contact would begin, and no one knew if they would survive it. The skies over the galactic capital were black again. The human fleet moved with slow, perfect motion. Not a single ship drifted out of place. They formed a wall of silence, watching the council tower like ancient judges returning to pass a sentence. Inside the tower, chaos was growing. Generals shouted orders. Diplomats sent messages to every nearby world. Families tried to flee the city. Nothing worked. The human presence had broken more than machines. It had broken trust, hope, and unity. Lyra stood at the edge of the chamber, watching it all. The young researcher had become one of the few who truly understood what was happening. She wasn't a warrior. She wasn't a leader. But she had studied the humans, read their forgotten history. And now, she saw the truth. They're not here to destroy us, she whispered. They're here to make us look at ourselves. But no one listened. Then, for the first time since their arrival, the humans spoke. It was not just a voice on a screen. It was a message sent into the mind of every living being across the galaxy. No translator, no delay. Every species heard it in their own language. The voice was quiet but full of power. Ancient, calm, and deeply human. We gave you time. We gave you silence. You chose pride. The cities froze. People stood still in the streets. Soldiers dropped their weapons. Even the council leaders stopped moving. The voice continued. You built your peace on forgetting, on lies, on weakness. Now we return, not for war, but for balance. In orbit, a beam of soft blue light shot down from the human command ship. It landed on the council tower, but it did not destroy anything. Instead, it lifted the tower into the air, like it weighed nothing. People screamed. Council guards ran, but there was no pain, no heat, just silence. The tower floated above the capital like a symbol. Then, slowly, it began to open. Walls peeled away. Ceilings split. The secrets inside, the true meetings, the hidden weapons, the false records, all became visible to the people below. Everyone could see the lies now. The voice returned. This is your truth. You feared us because you feared what you had become. General Revek, watching from a command ship, couldn't look away. He had fought in many battles, but never like this. They're not killing us, he said. They're judging us. In deep space across the galaxy, other human ships performed the same act. Old prison moons opened, hidden labs exposed, secret trade deals revealed to the public. The galaxy was not falling apart. It was being unmasked. Back in the capital, Veltar dropped to his knees. His pride was gone. His voice shook. Why didn't you just destroy us? The human voice replied. Because we are not here to end life. We are here to end the lie. Then, for the first time, a single human appeared in public. A small ship landed gently in the center of the capital square. A tall figure stepped out, wearing old black armor. No weapons, no soldiers, just one man. He looked ordinary. No one spoke. He walked forward slowly through the crowd. People moved aside, unsure whether to run or kneel. He stopped in front of the ruined council tower, now half floating above the ground. I am Commander Elias Thorne, he said. I speak for Earth. His voice was strong, but not angry. He looked around at the people. We were forgotten. We became a shadow. You thought we were gone. But we watched. We waited. And we saw what your peace became: fear, greed, and silence. He raised a hand, not in threat, but in invitation. But we offer you a choice. Change. Real peace. Not built on lies, but on balance. No one moved, no one dared speak. Then a small voice came from the crowd. It was a child. Will you hurt us if we say no? Elias Thorne looked down. He smiled, soft, sad, and human. No, he said, but we will never disappear again. With that, he turned and walked back to his ship. The humans had made their message clear. They had not fired a single shot, but they had broken the galaxy open. The silence was over. Now came the choice, and in Part 7, that choice must be made.